did say the Secretary would be meeting them, but just to clarify.
No, not necessarily with all of them. Secretary and others in the government. These are people who are invited to be in town that will be participating in different NATO events, some of the side events that go on, and some of those there will be bilateral meetings that happen here, some at the White House, some at the Defense Department, the usual thing that happens on the margins of these types of summits. There's not one meeting organized around all of them. I would expect nothing less, Matt.
So these are not all heads of state, right?
No, I said these are foreign. I think I said foreign ministers. There were four heads, heads of state from four countries. Heads of government. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the head of state.
Heads of state. Heads of state.
Australia is
heads of state and heads of government. I should.
And in fact, the Australian Prime Minister is not coming. It's his deputy.
I should have said.
And the head of state of
heads
Japan
of state
is the emperor, not Prime Minister. So let's
I appreciate the correction.
Look, you guys exist on protocol.
It is a fair point. I very much take the point.
Just to come back. So there will be bilateral meetings between Secretary or other U.S. officials and those countries where you'll talk about the future of Gaza. That's on the agenda.
I can't say with every one of those countries that I listed who have been invited, but yes, with a number of those countries there'll be meetings going on. Yes, that'll be part of the agenda.
And are you hoping for the NATO as a whole to express some view on the conflict in Gaza? Particularly, are you expecting, or are you hoping that NATO leaders will endorse a peace deal, hostage for peace?
Let me defer that question until further in the week when we actually have the communique.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I know you don't want to get into a full assessment as to the ongoing talks for a ceasefire, but I do wonder if you could just help us understand how this moment is different than it has been in the past a little bit. It was about a month ago that Blinken said in the region that some of the changes that Hamas had put forth are workable and some are not. Mm-hmm. Is that still the case, or has that changed?
I really don't want to get into that in public. Only because
the Secretary got into it in public.
That was a different time. We're in the middle of some very intense negotiations over this right now. That was when we first received a response back from Hamas that we are characterizing. We are in the middle of some pretty delicate, sensitive negotiations right now about a path forward, and I don't want to say anything that could potentially jeopardize those.
So you can't say, or you're not willing to say, if Hamas has dropped any of its demands that were made about a month ago?
I just don't want to speak to it at all.
Okay. And then I know we talked briefly about this yesterday with Modi visiting with Putin, but they did make some announcements, particularly with regard to continued agreements when it comes to energy and oil. And obviously that is a key factor in fueling Russia's war in Ukraine. And so I just wonder how you guys respond to that. You've been previously a little bit reluctant to criticize India for importing Russian oil.
So as I said yesterday, we have been quite clear about our concerns about India's relationship with Russia. We've expressed those privately, directly to the Indian government, and continue to do so, and that hasn't changed.
Can I make a follow-up?
Have you done so since this news has broken over the last 24 hours?
We have had conversations with them in the past 24 hours, and I think I'll keep the contents of those private.
One follow-up.
Sure.
How
Go
do
ahead.
you view the Modi-Putin hugging chemistry, as President Zelensky has seriously objected, saying it's a huge disappointment that the leader of the world's largest democracy hugs a bloody criminal in Moscow? This is a devastating blow to peace efforts. Will this create any impact on your trusted and strategic partnership with India?
Well, as I said yesterday, we continue to urge India to support efforts to realize an enduring and just peace in Ukraine, based on the principles of the UN Charter, based on upholding Ukraine's territorial integrity and its sovereignty, and that will continue to be what we will engage with we will engage with India about.
One on Bangladesh, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
At a recent public event, ruling Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina claimed that Nobel laureate Professor Yunus was not the founder of the Grameen Bank, and that then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called her regarding Professor Yunus MD's position, with many U.S. officials lobbying for Yunus and threatening her official. She also claimed that the U.S. lobbied the World Bank to cancel its funding for building of the Padma Bridge. Given the facts supporting Professor Yunus as the founder of the Grameen Bank, and the Prime Minister's assertion that she stopped meeting with U.S. officials while still trying to secure meeting with the U.S. officials and leadership, can the State Department confirm the accuracy of these claims made by the ruling Prime Minister?
So I don't think I have any comment on that at all. I mean, it's been 12 years, I think, from doing math, 12 years since Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. No, I don't have any comment on that. Tom, go ahead. Tom, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about a story the BBC is reporting today about Diego Garcia, which is that the US government has blocked a legal hearing on Diego Garcia, which was due to be attended by a British judge. British lawyers for migrants who are trapped on the island, who describe themselves as being held in prison-like conditions, and also a BBC journalist stopped effectively by the US from travelling there. Do you have any comment?
So I did see that story. I looked into it, and I would refer you to the Pentagon for comment. It's entirely a matter before the Pentagon, not the State Department.
I mean, it's our understanding in the reporting of this, in depth for a long time, that there is State Department involvement in this process.
So I can tell you that I inquired about this before coming out to the briefing, and it is a Pentagon facility, is a Pentagon matter. State Department often has some coordinating role, but it is predominantly, if not exclusively, a Pentagon matter, so I'd refer you to them for comment. They do have a briefing this afternoon, so I would...
Okay, and could you say anything about security reasons which have been quoted, and if not, does the US have anything to hide on Diego Garcia?
I will not say anything about security reasons, because that is a matter administered by the Pentagon, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to do so. It's not something I know about, but it's certainly something they can speak to more appropriately than me.
Do you have anything to hide on Diego Garcia?
No, but I appreciate you when I tell you that I can't speak to a matter that has nothing to do with my department. You continue to ask me.
Well, I mean, but as I say, it is
fair. Look, so hold on. I mean, I'm not saying none of these are legitimate questions, but when you ask me a question like that you know I have nothing to say when it's a matter, because it's like, hold on, it's like coming and asking me about something the Agriculture Department did and saying, do I have anything to hide? No, but I don't have anything to say about it because it's not a State Department matter. It's a Defense Department matter. Okay, so I would encourage you to go to their briefing and ask them questions about it.
It's only you did concede in that answer that the State Department, in your words, may have a coordinating
role.
Some
small coordinating role. It is largely, predominantly, if not exclusively, other than some small role that we often play as diplomats, a Department of Defense matter. So I would defer to them.
More broadly, on the whole Chagos Island, the situation with the islanders, the State Department does play a major role in it because there is a diplomatic, thing. There's a dispute going on between the Brits and Mauritius and the islanders, and you guys have taken a position. Do you have any guidance on whether that position has changed or not?
I do not.
In the past, it has been this is an issue for them to work out amongst themselves.
I do not have any update on that question.
And so while we're at it on the subject of British overseas island territories, how about the Falklands? Anything new on that?
No, Matt.
No? Okay. And New Caledonia? Let's go to France. Let's go to,
No, we can tour the entire world.
I mean, on the issue of these dozens of migrants who are trapped, basically in what they describe as, I mean, that is something that you can have a view on because it's something that we know factually has been happening. What is your